Look at your phone. Go on, just pick it up and really look at it. You swipe, you stream a video, you send a message. And it all feels completely weightless, doesn't it? Like magic. We've all been conditioned to believe this comfortable little fiction that our entire digital existence floats somewhere up in the sky, in this pristine, untouchable utopia we call the cloud. Well, in this explainer, we're going to shatter that illusion. Because the bedrock of your digital reality isn't floating in the air. The truth is much, much heavier, and honestly, a whole lot more terrifying.
The cloud is a billion-dollar lie. Take a moment and really let that sink in. There is no cloud. There is no invisible, weightless magic holding human civilization together. If you want to see the real, physical matrix that actually controls our modern world, you don't look up to the sky, you look down. You look 20,000 feet straight down into the freezing, pitch-black ocean. Because that, my friends, is where the true architecture of global power is hiding in the dark. It all boils down to one absolutely staggering number: 99%. 99% of all transcontinental internet traffic does not bounce off shiny satellites in orbit. No, it travels through extremely fragile glass cables, literally no thicker than a standard soda can, just sitting right there on the ocean floor. Every single thought, every consumed fact, every financial transaction keeping the global economy afloat, it's all pulsing through these tiny tubes in the absolute darkest, most unforgiving environment on the planet.
And here is the ultimate bait and switch. While we were all busy staring down at our glowing screens, entirely distracted, a very quiet, very deliberate revolution was happening beneath the waves. A shadowy corporate cartel figured out that simply renting space on the internet, that wasn't quite enough anymore. Why rent when you can own? So they decided to start actively buying up the ocean floor.
You see, for decades, the old guard of underwater internet cables was run by a rather boring consortium of international telecom giants. Think of companies like AT&T or British Telecom. And back then it was treated exactly the way it should be, as critical public infrastructure, a shared public utility. But right around the late 2010s, that model was aggressively dismantled. We moved rapidly away from a boring, reliable public utility straight into a new world defined by the absolute private control of Silicon Valley monopolies.
So why the sudden takeover? Because Silicon Valley woke up to a truly chilling realization. He who owns the wire owns the human mind. Just like that, the most powerful software companies on Earth, the Googles and Metas of the world, they pivoted. Hard. They went from merely making apps to essentially buying the physical planet. Let's actually dive into the data on this infrastructural land grab, because the sheer scale is hard to wrap your head around. Google just started pouring billions into massive undersea projects like the Dunan and Grace Hopper cables, cutting straight across the Atlantic Ocean. Not to be outdone, Meta opens its wallet for the 2 Africa project, which is a staggering, colossal ring of fiber optic wire wrapping around the entire continent of Africa. Put it all together, and big tech now holds a direct ownership stake in over 30 global subsea cables. Just look at the newly deployed capacity across the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. An unbelievable 80% of it is now controlled by just 4 names: Amazon, Google, Meta, and Microsoft. 80%. They aren't just licensing bandwidth from the old telecom guys anymore. They literally own the subsea highways. They didn't just build the digital world, they bought the physical bedrock it sits on. And that brings us to the dark, terrifying endgame behind tens of billions of dollars in physical hardware investments. Why on earth would software billionaires care so deeply about deep-sea pipes? Because it buys them something very specific and very dangerous: the geopolitical choke point. A geopolitical choke point is a vital geographic vulnerability. Think about the Red Sea or the Strait of Malacca. When you own the physical cables running through these incredibly tight, high-stakes geographic corridors, you hold the ultimate power. You can physically control, throttle, or completely cut off global data traffic. It gives a single private company absolute, unchecked leverage over entire sovereign nations. To really grasp how terrifying this leverage is, walk through a real-world scenario with me. Step 1. A sovereign country decides, hey, we're going to pass a law Google hates. Or maybe slap a tech tax on Meta's ad revenue. In the old days, Step 2 meant corporate lobbyists begging politicians for a favor. Not anymore. Big tech can completely bypass the political process. Why? That's Step 3. They hold the physical kill switch. They can literally just route data traffic around that specific country, which leads directly to Step 4.
that nation's digital economy is artificially slowed to a crawl, or they're forced to pay extortionate premium tolls just to plug back into the global network. They can literally hold a country's entire economy for ransom.
We are no longer talking about a simple monopoly over a search engine or social feed or an online store. This is a monopoly over human consciousness itself. Every idea you share, every piece of news you consume, every single digital dollar you spend, it all has to travel through a physical pipe. And today, those physical pipes are overwhelmingly owned by what? 5 CEOs sitting out in California? The corporate matrix isn't some sci-fi movie metaphor. It's not a fluffy, invisible cloud up in the sky. It is a very real, very physical cable sitting in the freezing dark, 20,000 feet down on the ocean floor. And if a tiny handful of tech titans control the literal physical arteries of human thought, well, who really owns your mind? Something to chew on the next time you tap that glass screen.